AM 970 WSTX.
Good morning. I have Alscess informally and Richard informally, and we have a guest on the line, but I want to go straight into talking about the Lit Fest to give you all a chance to introduce yourselves and talk about this upcoming program that we have come up here in April. And then we will bring our guests into the conversation.
Good morning. Thank you for having us, Richard and myself. We're here on behalf of the VI Lit Fest. Good morning to the listening audience. The Virgin Islands Literary Festival and Book Fair is in its 5th year. And we can't believe we've made it this far. And we've gotten a lot of traction because of the kinds of support we've gotten from the presenters from different parts of the world and from the local community. I want to say that the literary festivals are very popular around the world now. In each state in the United States, there are at least 3 or 4 festivals a year. In the Caribbean, on every island, there's a festival. The one in Trinidad and Tobago is really, really grown up. I mean, I was invited to that a few years ago, and I felt like we were toddling. Their whole community is involved. The restaurants, the library. It's held in a huge in their public library, which has about 3 or 4 theaters, big screens. They have security. They have authors from all over the world. Their big companies throw money into it. The government is in support, and we're lucky that we have our government is also in support of our festival as well. The Office of the Governor and the Department of Tourism are our prime supporters. The University of the Virgin Islands, the Department of Education, VIA, Buccaneer Hotel, the Cadwell Hotel Group. This year we're going to have Sager Farms come and do a presentation on food and the story behind the foods that we forage in the forest and eat. We're going to have the Caribbean Museum Center for the Arts. We always have our book Bacchanal. The Caribbean Writer, I'm the editor of the Caribbean Writer and also the chair of the VI Lit Fest. And so we're one of the prime supporters within the University of the Virgin Islands again. Because without UVI, this could not happen. They provide us with all of the resources, and all of the committee members that head the committee are either full-time members of UVI in terms of their job, or they're part-time members of UVI. So this is an activity that is very well supported by the University of the Virgin Islands. And another festival I've gone to is the one in St. Martin, the one in Anguilla. I've gone to one down in Antigua. Festivals are all over the Caribbean, and the people come from all over the place. And most of those festivals, they get a lot of money because I was just curious one time, and I asked one of the presenters what was the kind of money he got for coming to the festival. And he told me a cost that is the amount that we use to fund our festival. So I kind of backed away because I had approached that person about coming to the Virgin Islands for nothing. And here is what I actually got to convince them to come. I actually did. I said, we're just thriving. We're just trying to get the festival going. But we have warm, wonderful people, beautiful beaches. It's on a beautiful campus. You will not regret it. And then when the hurricane came, that was another little bit of currency. I said, we just got hit by a Category 5, so we really don't have too much. And generally they would say, okay, I won't charge you an honorarium. It is after they charge that maybe somebody else $10,000. If you provide me with a round-trip ticket and a hotel and a place to stay, I'll come. Or they will say, in most cases, many of our authors, some of them are actually getting their institutions to pay for their trip, or they're not accepting an airfare, or they're giving us something. Like Cadwell Turnbull, for example. Cadwell, he was quite willing to pay his way. And I thought, he's a young man, we need to give some encouragement. A lot of times Virgin Islands like to say, we don't like to pay. But we don't really have money to pay, but if we can find something to help. And he said, listen, I will pay my way. I would like to be there for the festival. Tiffany and Yannick is coming home. Clement White, he said, don't worry, Alscess. I'll take care of myself. I have family in St. Croix. I'm a Crucian as well. So I'll pay my way, and you do whatever you want to do with me. I'll do whatever workshops, whatever you want to do. So we get a lot of that, and that's how we get traction, because if we had to put out the kind of money that those other festivals put out, we would be in trouble. We actually, when I thought we might have to cancel, I had an opportunity to speak to the governor, and he said, we'll see what we can do to help. You know, we're in a difficult time now, but we'll see what we'll do to help. And then the tourism commissioner talked to me, and they gave us a little help. But you know, wherever I've gone with my song and dance about what we need, we've gotten assistance. St. Croix Foundation has been tremendous. They're the ones that keep us focused in terms of how we spend and accountable for what is spent. But if there's anything ever left over, it goes to the next year. But we have a, you know, they say the strongest wind is the quietest wind. And we have a lot of people behind us as well who, you know, don't say very much. They just step up and they call and they say, listen, what can I do for you? I could pick somebody up or I'll bring something. Because we feed people every day that people come to the festival. They get Saturday morning, you get a full West Indian breakfast, and then there's a lunch, a brown bag lunch. So you can eat and sit around and listen to a lecture. And then Friday, there's lunch. When the kids come in on Wednesday to do their little competition, there's lunch. And that's, Valerica Bryson has been working very strong with us to make sure that happens. Yvette McMahon and Nicole Miller at Department of Education, they're pulling together the school visits and the different things that we're doing in the various schools, because all of the authors are going to be they're going to be dispersed in the schools, and we're taking Deng to YRC, because you know sometimes we forget those people who've fallen on the wayside, and even though those young people have fallen on the wayside, we think literature can help. You know, at least those ideas that help people to sustain themselves in the most difficult times. So we're taking Deng Audit, our keynote speaker, to the to YRC at 1 o'clock on Thursday the 11th. You know, one of the things I always like to say is if you read a book, Song of the War Boy, because he's the author of Song of the War Boy, there's nothing in that book, I believe, that would compare, that the people at YRC could compare with in terms of their experiences. There's no experience that they have had that has been as bad as what this young man, who was 6 years old, was taken from his mother, his parents' bananas plantation, forced to walk for 33 days in the forest and the jungle, witnessed animals eating his little other 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds that were along with him, being involved in learning how to kill, being shot, being left for dead, being hungry to the point where he wants to eat his own excrement. I don't think there's anybody at YRC who's ever had that experience. So, and then here it is now, he's a lawyer. He taught himself how to read. He was able to, his brother smuggled him out of the war zone under a bag of corn in the middle of the night. And they got to Kenya and they went into a refugee camp there. They befriended an Australian couple who helped them to get asylum in Australia. So when he got to Australia, he was a little befuddled, kind of angry teenager. But he worked through that, and he taught himself how to read and write English, went to a school, finished high school, went to college, became a lawyer. He has written a book. He's now a father, and he was voted Man of the Year in 2017 in Australia. So I think that his story is very inspiring, and that's what we try to do at the festival, is we try to use local talents, but you cannot grow if you don't expose yourself to other people and other expertise and others. So we try to do that. So his story is a very compelling story, and one of the things that we like to do at the festival is to bring people to the territory who can open us up and expose us to new ideas and new ways of doing things.
All right. Well, it sounds like a very exciting lineup. That's the best way I can put it, a very exciting lineup. When I hear you describe this gentleman and his journey, okay, that's a serious business there, you know. It's like the person who say the foot hot, okay, and then they have to think twice when they say the man with no foot, to put it mildly. Yes, so I want to congratulate you on your perseverance and leadership in terms of, you can hold on to that, that's what you'll use. Perseverance and leadership in terms of 5 years later, here we are going strong. And I think that we need to all give a big up to ourselves in which the way we have our commitment to our home and to the literary world and what it means in the children's development, as well as the pleasure and enjoyment of adults, that we are following through with yet another Lit Fest here in the Virgin Islands. Okay, well, we have a special remote guest here with us. This small world with Virgin Islanders in Kazakhstan. This small world, okay, and we have one of your guests that's going to be coming, Mr. Cadwell Turnbull. We have him. That was your surprise this morning. We have him on the line.
Well, thank you for that.
And he took a journey out of St. Thomas, and I don't want to talk about where all he's been. I'll let him talk a little bit about his journey and how he got into the literary side of things, all the way to how you two hooked up and you rope him in to come here to sing. Okay, good morning, Cadwell.
Good morning. How you doing?
Okay, we're doing great. Glad to have you. Of course, you're here. Alscess and Richard is here with us here. So, tell us a little bit about your journey from St. Thomas to where else in the world to end up where you are now and coming home to the sister island.
All right. So I graduated from Charlotte High School back on St. Thomas, and then I went to Pittsburgh to get my bachelor's in professional writing. And I spent 4.5 years there, got my bachelor's, and then hopped around a bit, came back home, went to South Korea to teach English for a little bit, did some work in AmeriCorps, and then I started my MFA in creative writing at North Carolina State University in Raleigh. After that, I attended workshops and started submitting short stories to magazines, as those and that kind of stuff. I write primarily science fiction, fantasy, horror, which is known under the umbrella term of speculative fiction. And I've been doing it. I've been writing it for better part of a decade. Only about recently have I started selling some of the work, and I have a novel coming out in June that's set in the Virgin Islands. It's a science fiction novel, Alien First Contact, and it just explores how this St. Thomas and the people there respond to this alien presence, and it explores issues of colonialism, race, religion, social activism, that sort of stuff.
Oh,
and
right.
So how I found out about this was through Tiffany Unique. She's a writer from St. Thomas as well. Wrote a beautiful book called The Land of Love and Drowning. And she connected Alscess to me. Alscess sent me an email, and I said I would love to do it, and that's the story.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you
Happy to meet
here.
you. It's happy to meet you. I've been talking to you via email, so this is my first time hearing your voice, and so it's a pleasure. I'm thinking about having you come and the kids listening to you because you're speaking. Your presentation is before an audience of children from all of the various schools in the territory on the island, and so we hope that you're going to be a very inspiring force to them, help them to start to think about writing and telling their story. Building a cadre of Virgin Islands writers that we've been building in the last several years.
All right. Fantastic. So, how did you decide to get involved with AmeriCorps?
I just wanted to add that it's a pleasure to hear your voice through Alscess and get to talk to you, and I'm happy to be a part of this. I'm very excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. The AmeriCorps thing just kind of happened. I was teaching abroad in South Korea. Then I came back to the States, and I wanted to do something for people in the continent, do something for the country. So I applied and got in, and I did a youth a Braddock Youth Project. It was like a failing town in Pittsburgh, just outside of Pittsburgh, and we did journalism, we did articles, we did newspapers, we did short videos, PSAs, we did a documentary. It was just helping out there however I could. Yeah.
Right. Well, I had a guest in earlier who was doing a presentation at the Caribbean Museum next Wednesday, and she was telling me about her travels in Mongolia and showing me all the other places also that she's been as a photographer and so forth. And having taken uh, the trip to Denmark and seeing a different place, a different culture, and certain things that and seeing the young people that went with us and how they absorbed it. I'm always interested in how children get to travel. I always encourage parents to do something different, take them off the beaten path and get out and see the world, because you never know how it's going to inspire them and what it's going to do in terms of impact their life and how the course that they choose in their life. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when you travel, it just kind of opens you up in a way that staying at home never does. Because if you're at home and you're very open, when you go out into the world, and you realize how tiny you are and how little you know, and it just forces you to dig deep inside of yourself to find the very best of yourself. So I know my travels around the world do that to me. I realize that I'm a tiny little speck, and that the little that I know is something that I need to appreciate and learn to get some more, you know?
I see you got Richard here with you, and you're working him in the process.
Yes.
So Richard, you got a few words for us here this morning?
Yes, morning, Richard Dorsey. Just here to support Miss Brown and the Lit Fest. I help out with the marketing and making sure everyone sees and hears the Lit Fest across the island. So I just want to thank everyone that allowed us to put up some of our materials. We have posters scattered around from Gallows Bay to Christiansted, Sunny Isles, Frederickstead area. We're active on social media. Please check out our Facebook page at the USVI Lit Fest. And then we also have our website, www.usvilitfest.com. And for people interested in getting tickets are still open and available. You can find us on eventbrite.com. So this is my third year helping out the Lit Fest.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for Miss Brown, Miss Spencer Johnson, and all the hardworking, mostly ladies, of the Lit Fest. They lose sleep, they work hard, but it's always a wonderful time for everyone.
All right. Well, make sure you get that beauty rest, lady. Don't let them work you too hard, okay? All right. Well, so happy to have you here to talk about the Lit Fest, and I want to say that WSTX is a community-minded station, and we do our community calendar here, and we talk about it. And I'm so happy that to have you in here, and we're going to continue talking about it right up till the 10th and through the whole thing on the 13th. We want the community to come out to all these different events and participate, and this is not something that puts millions of dollars in anybody's pocket. It's something that is more of the quality of life aspect of what it brings to the Virgin Islands. So when you see that there's a donation to be made, feel free to add a little bit extra, because the fact of the matter is that it is one of those things that you don't know you got till it gone, but let's do better. Let's not let it go. Let's hold on tight and keep it going. All right, yes. So, I mean, it's amazing. We have a lot of talent here in the Virgin Islands, and what I see coming out of this, you have someone like Cadwell, is inspiration, because, once upon a time, parents would look to a child and say, how are you going to support yourself doing this or that? And sometimes just the lack of vision and exposure that those parents didn't really see where the world was going and the opportunities that there are. And there are opportunities in the literary world, and we can take advantage of them just as well as anybody else. So I'm glad to see this happening.
And you can actually do both. I always wanted to be.
Use the other mic.
You can actually do both, because I always wanted to be a writer. I always wanted to write, but I knew that I had to feed my family.
Yeah.
So I did the next thing, which is what I did in my other career, but I always kept my other foot. And hopefully one day I thought I could slide right over, and I've slid over from that grind of industry into that place where you really can enjoy writing and ideas and just be what it is you really want to be. At a time when you can't do that is when you have to feed your family, but you can try to do both. So sometimes people feel it's either one or the other. It's not one or the other. You can write, and you could be an attorney, you could be an HR director, you can be a mechanic, you can be a whatever, and you can write. And so we have a lot of workshops being offered this time for those reasons. The one that Cadwell is doing is getting started, for the young people, is getting started as a writer. That's on the Wednesday when the students come on the 10th. And then we have Biko Macmillan, who's a young author. He is a local Virgin Islander who has just published a book of poetry, and he's paying his way home to be a part of the festival, and he is doing a workshop on performance poetry from imagination to stage. And then we have Cassandra Ulrich on that same day doing self-publishing, a writer's option. Because one year we had a 10-year-old girl who had written a little novel, and we're thinking that these kids could try. They could try a little self-publishing on their own. There's nothing wrong with that. Parents could encourage that kind of thing. And then we have all those other workshops on editing and writing and fiction and writing in memoirs. We have a gentleman from Norway who's bringing his novels to talk about the colonial experience, from the experience of the colony from the colonialist perspective. It's a very interesting perspective he's sharing. And we have a woman from South Africa. I met her 2 years ago in Senegal. And her name is Rosina Mott. She's an award-winning author. She's gotten a lot of her awards out of Canada. But she has an interesting story about being 11 years old when she was, when the government moved her family out of their neighborhood into the outskirts, and their last names were changed to M-A-A-R-T, which means March. In the month of March, they were moved, and so her last name is Mart because that's the month when the law required that they be moved it was during the time of apartheid in South Africa. So she has a lot of those experiences, and she writes novels and other fictional short stories, not necessarily about that experience, but her experience is so wide and varied. She's taught in different parts of the world as well.
Well, you're just touching on the what should I call it? The breadth of not only opportunity but talent, and the ways in which we have to keep our eyes open, because this talent doesn't necessarily come in a 6-foot container. It might come in a 3-foot container. That young voice, that young person who is just a natural, curious, adventurous. Parents, nurture. Come to the Lit Fest. Bring the children with you. You just never know that super writer, novelist, choreographer, whatever that you have in your family just waiting for that exposure to say, boom, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, Ellie Hirsch and Oyoko Lovin are also working with the Children's Museum of St. Croix to have on Saturday from 10 o'clock to 3 will be a children's corner, and it's the Auntie Janice Children's Corner. It's in memory of Janice Tutine. And so there's going to be a lot of activities, a lot of writing activities for the kids. Okay.
I think we have a caller here. Caller?
Hey.
Good.
Man.
Good morning. Welcome to WSTX.
Hey, thank you. My name is Tracy James, also known as Tracy Matthew. I'm currently the WBC and WBA Bantam champion.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. I defeated a lot of opponents, and I just want to clear the air with rumors on the street. I'm not Yuri Brown.
Don't follow rumors. Set your own path. Don't worry about the rumors. Set your own path.
I'm not Yuri Brown, and I'm not part of any commission, any stupid.
All right, but you see, sometimes when you respond to rumors, you're not telling people who you are, and that's the important thing. You got to focus on who you are and where you're going. And we're talking about the Literary Fest and Book Fair, and we've got some young people out there that are coming out and doing fantastic things in their own right. So whatever you do, do it in your own right, and don't worry about rumors and what people have to say. All right? All right? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You have a great day. You have a great day. All right. Good thing. You see, this is and there's a lot of pressure out there in the community sometimes to associate or distinguish oneself. And I said, folks, especially you talking to these young folks, you got to look at where you want to go. I look at someone like Cadwell, and here's Cadwell straight out the mother house, gone off to school, and next thing you know, he there in South Korea, and everybody want to know how he get there. You know what I'm saying? And because he saw an opportunity, seized it, and moved forward. He wasn't there one worrying about what the other people in his class were doing. He was charting his own course, okay? And I don't mean to be talking like you're not there, Cadwell. I just that's just my impression of how you set off in life and chart your own course and did things in your own time. Now,
I feel lucky though, because I had a very supportive mom. So
all right.
that's always an important part of it.
Yes, most definitely. And I know she wants to come over here to St. Croix, but I don't know if they have a plane that could carry her because her chest is so big for being proud of her son. I don't know if she gonna fit through the door on the plane to get to St. Croix, but all right. But definitely, have her get in touch with Alscess also at her earliest convenience, okay? Definitely, but I know firsthand that she's very, very proud of you. We're all proud of you and what you're doing with your life and the example that you are to inspire others, okay?
I just want to encourage everyone to come to the Lit Fest. If you see our flyers, if you see us on Facebook, if you hear someone talking about us, make sure you attend. Like everyone said, it's good for the family. It's good for yourself. Even if you're not a literary person, come in and you can see culture, you can engage authors, and just enjoy the experience. So once again, I want to encourage everyone for the Literary Festival and Book Fair 2019, April 10th through 13th at the UVI Great Hall. We're doing Caribbean Museum for the Arts, and
Book
then
Bacchanal.
the Book Bacchanal. And where's our meet and greet going to be at?
Our meet and greet is at Company House Hotel. The Cadwell Group has given us the use of the Company House Hotel, and the reception, I should say, is for the authors and for our supporters, our presenters and so forth, mainly, because it's a small place. Stan Joins and the Central High School Jazz Band they're going to play, and then we'll have the authors introduce themselves, and we're still working on hors d'oeuvres. We don't have the funding for hors d'oeuvres yet. We're working on that. And when I'm done here, I'm going to see if I can drum some of that up.
Okay, all
But
right.
we're doing okay. We're doing okay. But we're set so far. The committee is working very hard to make sure that everything go well.
Yes, well, I know how it is. You have to be out there hustling. I'm working with the Talking Books Library as they're having Library Week on that same from the 7th to the 13th, so overlapping there. And and so they're trying to put together an open house at the Golden Rock Library. And you got to have a little something for the people. Can't have no belly growling during the presentations and so forth and so on. So we're out there hustling also. So
That's why we feed people every day so that they don't have any reason. People who may be diabetic who have to have lunch. Every day you come to the festival, you get a little something to eat.
all right.
You go to Eventbrite and purchase your ticket. We have a discount for senior citizens. Students are free. Once they have their ID, students are free. And we have discounts for teachers. And all of what you pay, it goes back into keeping the festival going. Okay?
Fantastic. All right, good thing. Well, it's now 7 minutes before the hour, so we have just a couple minutes to just do a recap here, folks. We have the Literary Festival and Book Fair for 2019 coming up from April 10th through the 13th. And I see here for your theme, musings and metaphors, revolution, evolution, and devolution. All right, deep.
If you put that together, it's READ.
Read. All right, okay. Revolution, evolution, and devolution. Okay. I could see now I gonna need my flippers and mask and everything is deep. I going down in this one here and coming back up. Cadwell, I want to thank you for calling in and spending this time with us, okay, in the process.
It's a pleasure.
So, yeah, definitely I look forward to seeing you while you're here. And who knows? You know, mommy might surprise us too. Let's see. Anyhow, yeah. Well, you know how it is. Can't get enough. A baby here for a few days in Sataj. She could add a couple more days in St. Croix. Believe me, she'll do it. All right, and it's all good. It's all good, folks. So, parents, guardians, friends, mentors, reading is fundamental. They want to play the PS4, they want to play the Xbox, but they got to set it up. They got to figure out how it works. They got to read. And I use that one on my, my kids there at the school and everything else, because the bottom line is they love those gadgets, but it comes back to the books. The books open the world to everything else. So books in that context will never be old-fashioned. They're part of the journey fashion. Okay? So thank you again. The last minutes are yours to talk about any aspects of the Lit Fest that you want to just touch on in the process in these last minute or two.
Okay, well, thank you once again, Dove. It's really a pleasure to be here. We appreciate the time you're taking with us. We're going to have a publisher from imprint of Simon & Schuster. The owner is Sam, and she's going to do a workshop on how to publish your book. And we have another workshop on editing your work. We have another workshop on writing your historical accounts. You know, how to write and set that up into a book form. We have a number of authors who are going to be reading under the tent for the Auntie Janice Children's Corner. We're expecting Lieutenant Governor to come and read it from his collection. And we're expecting Deneen Milner, who is the New York Times bestselling author, who's best known for some of her works of fiction that are culturally appropriate. And she is best known for writing the book with Steve Harvey, Think Like a Lady, Act Like a Man. So that's one of the books that she's written, but she's actually a young adult writer, and she's become very well acclaimed in the world of literature. She's on the best-selling list for the New York Times best-selling list. So we have a lot of workshops in the afternoons. There's lunch, a lot of opportunities, and we're asking people if you want to call us and make a contribution or help to pick up an author and give them a little tour of the territory of the island. Please do. And we want to thank all of our sponsors. I hope I haven't left anybody out, but we have those sponsors who've been with us from the beginning. We couldn't have done it without them.
Well, what you do, you send me a little list of your sponsors.
Yes.
Because I love to talk about sponsors.
Very good.
I love to make non-sponsors jealous and come on board the next time.
I'll send you a list of all of our sponsors.
All
We
right,
have a list of
fantastic.
sponsors.
Yes.
Okay, including the Daily News and the St. Croix Avis as well, and Buccaneer and Via, and the Caravel Hotel Group, Sager Farms, Meridema. We have a lot of people who just come out and just giving us, and the other person who's my right hand is Miss Charlene Spencer Johnson at the Caribbean Writer.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, let me tell you, we dance well together. She's quite a worker, and with all the other people who work with me, I know that this could never happen if they didn't have the kind of work ethics and they didn't support the festival the way they did. So I'm just the chair and they are the legs.
Well, you just do me a favor and one the sponsors, and you know, I know how it is. As careful as you was, it have somebody name you ain't called.
Yeah,
so you take
right.
your time and jot down in there, send me an email, and between now and the 10th, as I talk about it, we will bring this out, because everybody is appreciated, and I want everybody's name to get called out, and every sponsor to make the other non-sponsors jealous in the process. We want to make it happen for the Lit Fest, so that 5 years from now, we'll be reflecting on this
journey.
Yep.
Right. Thank you very much, Doug. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Richard.
All right. Well, folks, WSTX, your community-minded station, is happy to bring the Lit Fest here to you today, and Cadwell calling in one of the authors that will be here presenting and interacting with our young folks, being a mentor and inspirational presence. All right. I want to tell you, do a random act of kindness so that person who you know may not have the entry fee to that particular thing at the Lit Fest that they want to go to or would love to go to, and you would just buy the ticket and hand it to them. Do your random act of kindness. And if you're feeling bored, do some premeditated ones too. All right? And on that note, I want to say thank you. And hey, this is my music, my inspiration, my coffee, and I share it with you as I leave.